Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I am here to talk about Celtic 2, Auchinleck Talbot 0, Scottish Cup. It's our first involvement this season, and of course, the game was moved to Rugby Park to accommodate the big hitters in Celtic going to a non-league team, a team who sit sixth tier of Scottish football, and we didn't cover ourselves in glory. I said at half time we're going to win 2 or 3-0, but we need to really dig in on this performance and have a look at really what's happened and what deep issues we have here at Celtic Football Club, not just on the park but off it. We scored 2 goals in the game. We could have scored a third, but VAR chopped it off. Very tight decision when you look at those lines, those human error lines they're put in there. Kenny could have had a second, and it was a very good finish by Johnny Kenny, who scored the opening goal for Celtic. Sebastian Tunecki scores a second goal. 85 minutes on the clock when that one goes in. All credit to Auchinleck Talbot. I mean, you've got to say it. Part-time footballers coming out here. Yeah, you're right, Martin. It was a very tough watch indeed, and we're probably best to stick to the comments coming through. Half time was a frustrating 15 minutes for myself. I'm pretty sure it was a frustrating watch for you guys, but we managed to get the win. Where's the positives then? Let's try and start with the positives, and then we'll start going through a lot of these comments coming through. JJ Celtic, shocking that we have fallen so far. Yes, you're right. It's January. People are sick of me saying this, but see, February last year, we were going toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich. And you compare that, you contrast that and compare that to tonight. We're on our absolute knees as a squad. Absolute knees. And it's not happened overnight. It's not happened over one season or one transfer window. It's happened over a number of seasons. And over a number of managers. So you can't blame a manager like Desmond tried to do during this season. You can't blame a manager. That's not why we're in the situation that we're in. We'll go through individual players tonight. Who did well? Let us know in the comments section who you felt had a good game. And we'll have a wee look at that. Henrik McLaughlin. I'm going to bring this one up because in that second half, I was pondering this. Under Nancy, we would have scored 6. I mentioned a couple of times under the short 33 days that Nancy was in charge that I feared this game. You know what? I feared this game. I think it would have been wide open at the back. And I'll tell you something. I don't think we would have scored 6 because when Inverness, I'll tell you what, that was a wee Freudian slip. Auchinleck Talbot, when they attacked us on the break, we looked vulnerable enough tonight. There was a couple of occasions, and they would have got in behind us. I'm glad we're not sitting here talking about a performance after tonight's game managed by Wilfried Nancy. They'd have got behind us. They'd have scored tonight. I said it at the time, a few weeks back when he was in charge. Talbot would have scored against us tonight. And what would have happened? Who knows? Yeah, we have fallen pretty far and just in a year. But, you know, the deeply embedded roots of this issue go much, much further back. And I think if I'm looking at positives, I'm looking at the fact we won the game, we get out of dodge. But how often are we going to say that? I said that the other night against Falkirk. We've played 3 games under Martin O'Neill since he came back in. We've had 3 wins and 3 clean sheets because Martin O'Neill knows how to function and he knows how to get through the wilderness that we're currently in terms of squad quality. And he knows how to do it, whereby Nancy didn't know and Brendan Rodgers had become very, very stale and predictable. Brendan Rodgers' game plan was very predictable. Teams knew how to line up against them, set up against them. Whether or not we would have got out of the woods, it's anybody's guess. We were in a situation under Brendan Rodgers where he had not been either offered or hadn't signed a contract. Whether or not he was out there looking at other options, who knows? Who knows? He got a job pretty quickly, didn't he? And maybe that was always his intention. And maybe that's why the board were reluctant to open up the purse strings, or maybe not, as the case may be, because we're sitting here on the 18th of January and we still don't have a replacement for Kyogo, who left last January. We're sitting here on the 18th of January, we still haven't had a replacement for Nicholas Kuhn, who left in the summer. So that's not on Brendan, that's on the board. Absolutely on the board. And the chance tonight by the Celtic fans who were in the stadium many of those, most of those, the majority of the chants were aimed towards this inept and incompetent Celtic board who lack ambition, who lack the decency to communicate with their own fan base. Derek A, you're on the X platform, Derek. A disgraceful performance from a disgraceful group of professional football players. I don't like to call players disgraceful. I think the performance was really, really poor. All credit to Auchinleck Talbot. There are certain guys who wore a Celtic jersey tonight on that park who I wouldn't allow them. I wouldn't allow them to wear it again. Because they're that bad. They are that bad. It's not the player's fault, and I don't mind actually saying it because people don't like you singling out players. Balikwisha will never be a Celtic player in a million years, no matter who the manager is, no matter what shape you're playing, no matter what position he plays in. If he can't do it against Auchinleck Talbot, he never will, right? So that's done. That's a waste of £5 million down the pan. The only way he can move to Europe this season is if Royal Antwerp want him back until the end of the season. If we can somehow do a deal, and that even in itself sounds ridiculous, if we can somehow negotiate a deal, and it sounds ridiculous because of who's doing it, Michael Nicholson and his bulldog. I don't know if it's a bulldog or if it's Scrappy Doo, Chris Mackay, the financial guy, the figures guy and the contracts guy. You know, if they could somehow manage to get Royal Antwerp to agree to take this player back, that's the only move he can make in European football in the next 2 weeks. And if we can't, and we can't find a suitor in Saudi Arabia or Mexico or North America, then we've not got a chance of getting rid of this player. And he's just basically going to be a drain of a jersey and a drain of a wage. Now, we're sitting here in January. No, signed him a few months back. It's not based on just what he did tonight, which wasn't very much. Shin Yamada comes on 86th minute of the game. After we score the second goal and we know that we're winning the game, we bring on Shin Yamada. And in that seven minutes or so, including the 3 minutes of injury time, we got a chance for Yamada. Did anybody in the comments think he was going to score it? Did he think he was going to score it? I don't think he did. I don't think I did. Shin Yamada's nowhere near good enough to play for Celtic. The other player that I think you've got to question, because against Dundee United, under Nancy's regime during his tenure, Kenny could have scored 2 or 3 goals easy in that game, but he didn't. Tonight, Kenny could have scored 3 or 4 goals tonight, but he didn't. He did score one. He had a very, very good finish chopped off. It was Jota-esque. Remember those days of Matt O'Reilly playing a defence-splitting pass through the defence of Rangers for Jota to clip it in? Remember those days? That was not that long ago. This was a very similar finish against Auchinleck Talbot by Johnny Kenny, but I just don't, again, nothing against the kid. He's got a 4-year deal not that long ago, and we've got to do better. We've got to go out there and get better. Estepona, boy, absolutely pathetic how this club have regressed. What on earth is happening? And thank you to Clydebank Celtic for supporting the channel. But unfortunately, there's a wee sweary in your message, which means I can't bring it up. But it says that was, I'm going to replace your word. That was, let us know in the comment section a word that you would finish that sentence off with. That was ... And the one that I can use, if there is one, I will bring it up. That was Drew. That was Drew. Drew, is that Cockney rhyming slang, Tony? It wasn't very good. Right, here's the thing. I'm going to bring this up here. Enlighten Me says we are winning nothing this year. Well, I'm going to tell you something, just taking notes, because there wasn't much to write down in terms of, oh, that was good. I liked how he did this. I liked how he did that. I'm going to try and extract some positives from it. But what I wrote down that was very similar to this, enlightening me, was the following. That if anyone in that Celtic boardroom, many of whom are sitting there, the camera didn't pan onto them, unfortunately, a few times tonight. If anyone in that boardroom believes that this group of players will finish anything above third in the Scottish Premiership this season, then they are deluded. They're incompetent in equal measure, but they are deluded if they believe that this group of players, under the manager who seems to be able to, and management team, because you seen Czernecki running over to Fozzie. You know, the management team are very important. Sean Maloney's very important in this as well. They're going to extract the absolute maximum out of this group of players. But what you're saying enlightened me, and I agree with you, the absolute maximum you can squeeze out, that you can rinse out of this group of players, isn't good enough. And Martin O'Neill is going to get the absolute maximum out of them, but it ain't good enough. And if anybody in the boardroom thinks that Martin O'Neill is like a shield of steel, like Batfink, a shield of steel to their own deficiencies, then they're as deluded as many of us think they are. This team is missing, I would say, up to 4 starters. Listen, you could go through the team and maybe replace 7 or 8 of them, but I'm talking about, you know, needs must, which was the comment that Martin O'Neill made not that long ago. And at the beginning of this window, I said there was a 4-pronged way of saving and salvaging this season. And the 4 things we had to do at that point when I said it, and I think I saved it in here for anybody who didn't hear it originally, and if I've still got it, I will play it. There was 4 things we could do to save our season. And I'm going to play it to you, actually, because I was asked the question. On BBC, and this is what I said. I'll play it to you just now because my opinion has not changed.
Time for an update on the sport. Adam is with us, and the question mark hanging over the Celtic manager.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be speaking about again. We can continue with this reaction to yesterday's Old Firm game where Rangers beat Celtic 3-1 away from home to inflict a 6th loss in 8 games on new manager Wilfried Nancy. Supporters were understandably left furious, with thousands of them gathering outside the stadium after the full-time whistle to call for regime change, and the Celtic Fans Collective have issued a statement requesting the removal of the manager and those who hired him. So let's get a sample of how the fans are feeling now and speak to a Celtic supporter and a Celtic State of Mind podcaster, Paul John Dykes. Paul John, good morning. Now you've had the chance to sleep on it. How are you feeling after yesterday's events at Celtic Park?
Good morning, Adam. There is mixed emotions, really, but the overriding feeling is one of frustration. And it's frustration because the only people who can't see what's wrong at Celtic Football Club and how to solve it are those with the power to do so. That's the overriding emotion that I'm feeling this morning. There's also anger, of course, that this Celtic board has taken us as a football club from the Allianz to also-rans in 11 short months. And there's a sadness, really, because when I look at that Celtic dugout, I see no Celtic identity. This management team is the first management team in the history of Celtic Football Club where there is not an ex-player in some capacity in the dugout. I don't think they get what this club is all about.
Quite simply then, should Wilfried Nancy be sacked?
He's got to. He's got to go. You don't have a manager at Celtic who can't manage to win games. Wilfried Nancy, you know, on a human level, I have lots of sympathy for him. I really do. He's in the wrong movie, Adam. He's not at this level. He doesn't understand the gravity of a defeat to Rangers, a defeat in a cup final. He, his backroom team, and Paul Tisdale, who identified him, all should be relieved of their duties today.
Do you think the board, or Dermot Desmond rather, will listen to that, whether that be with the removal of the manager or others at the club?
This is one of the biggest issues, and I think it's going to highlight it to many more Celtic supporters. Dermot Desmond once said, if 1 million people told me to do something in a body of only 1,000,001, and I was the one, then I would take my own counsel. And they can shout and they can exhort all they like, and I will not change my opinion. That's an issue when you have someone with that level of power at the football club. If it comes onto Dermot Desmond's table and he says, keep Nancy where he is, Nancy will stay in a job. That's a huge problem at our football club.
And we're in January now as well, so this is another, I guess, side story that's quite difficult. This is, of course, meant to be Wilfried Nancy's first transfer window, but you know he already looks to be on borrowed time. How does Celtic approach this? Do you trust Nancy with signings? Do you make more club signings? How really should January look, do you think?
There's a lot of talk, Adam, around Nancy's system, a very specific system. It's a 3-4-3. How should that be so specific? We should be able to buy players, identify players and scout players all year round and then bring them to the football club. The manager has to rubber stamp every single signing. I don't trust the manager we have in place to bring in the requisite quality that we need to salvage anything from this season. So, no, we need to start working quickly, and announcements and people being relieved of their duties have to happen now.
Of course, Wilfried Nancy has lost 6 of his 8 games in charge. His predecessor, the interim manager in Martin O'Neill, he won 7 of his 8 matches during that interim period in charge. If Nancy is to go, would you like to see Martin O'Neill back? And another part to that, do you think O'Neill would come back?
Martin O'Neill should never have been allowed to leave in the first place. He wasn't asked to stay on, either as a manager or upstairs in the football department. Would he come back? I'm pretty sure he would. And he would give us a stability. I mean, it's quite a simple thing. You remove the management team, you bring in the one that we had under Martin O'Neill. You then let the fans back into the stadium. You sign 4 or 5 quality players, and you have the chance of winning a double. If you do nothing, you win nothing.
Paul John, thank you so much for your time this morning. That was Paul John Dykes there from a Celtic State of Mind podcast.
If you do nothing, you win nothing. Okay, the draw is kicking off as well, and I'm pretty sure I will be updated of that on here. These are very good at keeping me updated on things happening elsewhere. I'm just going to see if it's... There's the draw. I can watch it. I'm watching it live. Brilliant. Right, the reason I played that was because that's where we were at the beginning of January, in my view, and that was after the game against Rangers. And in that game, we had our one and only January signing so far on the park, came on as a sub, and that was Julien Araujo. Since then, we have signed no one. We have signed no one. We did the first 2 parts. We got rid of Nancy and the mob that... employed them, Paul Tisdale et al. And we brought in Martin O'Neill and his team, who have done wonders. As I say, though, they've absolutely got to the point where they are maximising their ability to still get a tune out of this group of players. And at the end of that little piece there, Adam Binney asked me the question, if the last 2 things I said we have to do as a football club was get the fans back in to the stadium. That hasn't happened yet. And I'm pretty sure in the next week we'll be hearing from at least one side of that particular saga, and that will be the fans' collective side, I would suggest. And the final bit of that was the fact that we needed 3 or 4 quality players, and because we haven't signed any, that's still my take. We still need 3 or 4. We need a right-sided centre-back, we need a right winger, we need a centre-forward. So, you know, we're at that point at the moment where that's the bare minimum. If we sell anybody, and there's a few that we might sell, then obviously we have a situation where they need to be replaced, and that's where you get the 4 as well. I can see loads of numbers getting drawn out of the sack by is it Steve Davis? I can see that, but they're not actually telling us who's been drawn against who, which is absurd when you've got it on mute. So that's very interesting indeed. Let me see if I can hear this. The draw is happening live. Dundee United have just been drawn out, I can see. But I'll probably get a better update from the comments section on here than I will from there. Celtic are number 3. Here we go. We need more than 3 or 4. You reckon, Connor Sullivan? Where else do we need to strengthen? We won't get 3 or 4. If we don't, then we can forget it. We can absolutely forget it if we don't bring in at least 3 or 4. So I'm watching the draw live here. So how are they drawing this out then? I would expect them to be bringing the teams up as they are drawn. Stenhousemuir versus Falkirk is one of the games that are drawn. Who else have we got? Number 12. Rangers have been drawn out, surprisingly, at home against number 15. Stranraer or Queen's Park. a game that was postponed yesterday. So not many balls left. It's like the Celtic Boardroom. Celtic have just been drawn out. Home tie. Dundee at home. So Celtic draw Dundee. We won't get 3 or 4. Well, 3 just got number 4. Celtic were number 3. Dundee were number 4. JJ reckons we need 4 or 5. Aberdeen versus Motherwell's one of the ties. Here we go. Yeah, have we got lots of trolls in here? Just call them out and we'll get them blocked. Here we go. We'll get them blocked. And Douglas Patterson says, I'm only 10 minutes from you. How about a pint in the Barley Sheaf to discuss this shambles? Barley Sheaf, where is that? Is that next to the Tesco? The wee Tesco, Douglas? Let me know. I think it is. Which means you're only 5 minutes away. I could walk there. So yes, let us know exactly what you feel about tonight. I'm going to give you what I think were positives, slim pickings, and the negatives as well. Obviously, you go into a game like tonight showing full respect to the opposition, yet it is one of the very few opportunities where you're able to have a player rested. So we'll go into it like that. And as I say, when you're looking at the back four, all of those players were right-footed players, which I think shows that we've got an issue in the defence. They were all homegrown players. There were 6 homegrown players from the starting 11. So you had your back four of Donovan, Ralston, Welsh and Murray. You also had Forrest, of course, and McGregor. And there were 7 Scottish starters in that team, which doesn't happen very often. Anybody in the comments, let me know, when was the last time we had 7 Scottish starters in a starting 11? That would be an interesting one to look at as well. I'm going to say McCowan was our best player tonight across the field. I think McCowan was the best player this evening. We've got Tony Cassidy's starting lineup versus Hearts. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well, Tony. So McCowan, at least he tried to open him up. At least he had some speculative efforts on goal. He created a few chances. He switched from right to left. And I think that, he's a player that we shouldn't have a situation where he's starting games, because we have brought in enough players within that area. Yet, I think he stepped up tonight. I think he's a good squad player. And I'm glad we've got him, but we should be able to field a much stronger starting 11. Forrest, you reckon Sitcom was the best player for Celtic? Forrest played well, says Margaret. Donovan was Chris Reed's man of the match. Yeah, he was a positive, absolute positive tonight. Forrest did okay. Jace Face comes in to say our midfield need to recognise that as the current state, they are more likely than Kenny Maeda to score. Yeah, and hit the ball from 18 to 20 yards. Johnny Kenny was a concern for me tonight. He got loads and loads of chances, I think. He scores one, he gets one chopped off. He should be scoring hat-tricks in games like this tonight. He should be scoring hat-tricks. Dundee are improving. Generally speaking, captain sensible. I'll only ever see these teams when they play us, but I did watch the Hearts game the other week there, the one where Craig Gordon pulled off a fantastic save near the end of the game. And yeah, they've definitely improved since Stephen Presley has taken over. I think in the first couple of weeks, the Dundee fans would have been happy to get rid of him. Spoke to a couple of Dundee fans last week, as it happens, and that was their feeling. They felt it was an old pals act with Strachan bringing in Stephen Presley. He wasn't doing well, and he kind of has turned it around. G-Man is asking for Martin O'Neill to speak out. Martin O'Neill obviously will be getting his post-match interview at the moment. Speak out. I think he said everything he can say at this point. Whatever has changed between Friday's press conference and now, he said we're going to get a couple in next week. So as of tomorrow, the clock is ticking even more intensely for those in charge. 2 pub teams slugging it out. We didn't look great tonight at all, did we? Tonecki was positive. He got a very good goal near the end. He was willing to run at the tiring defence, but we need him to do that, Scott, on a regular basis. Consistency for Tonecki. I thought when he came in, first couple of games, he looked pretty good. Goes off the boil. Yeah, he's unsettled, as are a lot of the kind of new guys coming in from going from Rodgers to O'Neill to Nancy back to O'Neill. I get it. If I'm going to be fair to these guys, he's unsettled. But I've already made my mind up about Balikwisha, and I think you can do that as a fan after this amount of time. Balikwisha's not good enough for me. If we can try and negotiate a deal back to Antwerp, do it with a view to them signing him back at the end of the season, and we'll lose a couple of £1 million on him. I mean, we keep banging on about this brilliant model, this financial model, this player recruitment model that we've got. It's dreadful. It's shocking. It needs torn up, and we need to restart it. So where else? Yeah, Kosevic, we missed out on Big Franco. Absolutely, we did, and it was a no-brainer for me. £3 million to £5 million. Go out there, bring him in. He's a goal scorer. He's in great form, and unfortunately, Lennon's still calling Martin O'Neill gaffer. That's the respect he gets, says Ron Angry. Yeah, he is, and that is all down to respect. And I think when you speak to the players who played under Martin O'Neill first time round from 2000 2005, that's the level of respect that they still have for Martin O'Neill. So absolutely, I don't have an issue with him doing that. I don't think he's sucking up to him. Lenny got a great result yesterday, didn't he, for Dunfermline against Hibs at East End Park as well. Now, this is something I made the point the other day there, Paul. If Martin O'Neill can't get Dermot Desmond to spend some cash, then no one can. It's a joke that we're even talking like this, because Dermot Desmond shouldn't have that say. You know, I'm sick of saying this. We're in a situation where I think, right, here we go. So I was asked about this the other day here. After the Rangers game, directly after the Rangers game, if you've ever done the tour of Celtic Park, or if you've ever worked there in any capacity, you'll know the kind of lay of the land. You go into that reception area, and then the boardroom's on the right-hand side. So to the right of reception, you've got the stairwell, and on the right of that, you've got the boardroom, the door. When you go in there, there's another wee kind of door, smaller room, wee tea room area, which when Dermot Desmond's in town, he's in that room on his own. He wasn't, as you know, in town for that particular game. But after the game, there was a coming together of members of the boardroom, and the chairman, Brian Wilson, was there, and Brian Wilson made sure that Michael Nicholson knew that he had to get in touch with Dermot Desmond in relation to making a decision on Nancy's future, and that decision was that he had to get removed from his position as manager. So Michael Nicholson got credit for making that phone call, but he was urged to do it. He was pushed in. He was backed into a corner. He was told he had to do it by the chairman and a few of the other directors who were in the room at that time. Phone call was made. Dermot Desmond was against making the decision. He was against it because he wanted Nancy to stay until the end of January, and whatever the plans were, and I use the word plans very loosely, that Paul Tisdale had in terms of transfers would still go ahead, and we would still buy the players, and Nancy would get until the end of January. That was Dermot Desmond's stance on it. And I think the reason that Michael Nicholson was given credit was he was steadfast in his assertion to Dermot Desmond that no, that cannot happen. And if it does happen, Celtic are finishing third at best. And at that point, the decision was made to pull the trigger. So the reason I'm bringing it up here is because we all know the situation we're in with Dermot Desmond, and everything has to go through him, and it's a joke. And he's a principal shareholder. He's a minority shareholder with the most shares, 34.7, and print it in your brain. But obviously, there is some coming together when it comes to voting, and he has got the influence of others to get him over the threshold of 51% for a vote. But you're not taking a vote, are you? You're not taking a vote. You're making decisions day to day on signings. So we shouldn't have to indulge Dermot Desmond in these negotiations. We shouldn't have to indulge him in trying to get him as if it's his money to spend some of the club's cash. But you're right, Paul. The point I made last week is that at least there is a friendship stroke relationship between Martin O'Neill and Dermot Desmond that exists. That didn't exist with Nancy, and it certainly didn't exist with Brendan Rodgers by the time he was sacked or resigned from his position at Celtic. So I agree with you. If Martin O'Neill can't get this done this window, then we're absolutely done at this moment in time. And I laugh because I believe O'Neill will convince them to get 3 or 4 in the door. 2 of them will come in next week, and hopefully we'll get a couple near the end of the window as well. Yeah, we spoke about this earlier, Johnny. Maswanise from Motherwell, get him in. Why not? Low risk. He's a player who came to Motherwell with a bit of calibre. He played at Leicester. He'd made his debut under Maresca, and of course when he was at Leicester, he was there at the same time as a young player, at the same time as Kasper Schmeichel, and as a player breaking into the side under Maresca, he was there at the same time as Iheanacho. And, I think it would be a really good move in the trajectory of his career, stepping up. He's a guy that's on form. He's shown that he can do it in the Scottish League. We are in the here and now. It's a kind of needs must. He can play right wing, left wing, centre forward and number 10. Get him in. Absolutely. There's reported interest in the player by Rangers. And, that would improve their squad, but it would also improve our starting 11, wouldn't it? He would improve our starting 11. And I was talking about the fact that Welsh should come back. We could use him as a make weight to Motherwell, but Welsh plays tonight. He's now cup tied. Motherwell are still in the cup. And let's be honest, they're doing really, really well in the league, but the last chance at a trophy for Motherwell is the Scottish Cup. So, they'll take that into consideration as well. He might have been a very good make weight in the deal for Maswanisi. But yeah, I would go out and I would absolutely buy him. He's a no-brainer. Bologna and Hearts coming up. Yeah, I know. Bologna, just for your information, if you're in the Glasgow area or the surrounding areas and you're wondering, because you'll be wanting to watch the game and you'll be unlikely to be going to the game because obviously away days in Europe are very expensive. It's hard to get a ticket. So if you want to come along and watch it in the company of fellow Celtic supporters, we're going to have the Barazat Design fan zone once again on the big screen. Why would you want to come and join us? Well, the atmosphere and the comradeship. It's free of charge, of course, to come in. We're going to have live music on the stage as well. There's going to be free pies at half-time. And we're going to do a pre-match and a full-time Acsom analysis and preview of the game. At half-time, there's going to be the Acsom pub quiz. Quite a quick one, but very good signed items will be available for you to win. So come along. If you want to do it, what I would suggest you do, though, is book your seats just to make sure you get in. And the ticket link, although it's free, is underneath this particular video. Yeah, so I was asked a question there by Tony Cassidy here in relation to the starting 11 against Hearts. That, this is at the loss of any new signings, which I hope there will be at least 2 by the time we line up against Hearts. But at the moment, the squad as it is, Iheanacho started training. Thought he might have been on the bench tonight to get some minutes in his legs, but he wasn't. He's expected to be fit for the game against Hearts, and our biggest issue at the moment is not having a centre forward. My concern with Iheanacho is the fact that we brought him back and he pulled up again with the same injury. Same thing happened with Sriracha, the same thing happened with Johnston. We're going to have to show a bit of patience with these guys. We don't want them to have a reoccurrence of their injuries. Kasper Schmeichel starts every single week for me. I seen tonight Sinisalo playing a game where he's up against 6th-tier Scottish football. That's the level that he's up against. And he flapped at the couple of things that he had to do. He flapped at it. Doesn't look confident to me. Yeah, he does a lot of shouting, but does he command it with a presence, with a physical presence? Does he command his area? I don't think he does. He squaffed a cross, and at the back post, had McEwen not been really, really strong, Auchinleck Talbot score a goal there. There was a moment where, his distribution was pretty poor, put us under unnecessary pressure. Schmeichel all day long starts for Celtic, both on Thursday and at the weekend as well. What's your defence made up of? Well, Julian Araujo is a starter. He is far better than any other right backs we've got at the football club who are fit. Of course, Alistair Johnston's your first choice when he comes back. Your left back for me is Kieran Tierney, rested this evening, and your 2 centre halves pick themselves every single week, Scales and Trusty. Your midfield 3 are not performing that well, quite frankly. They are not performing well. But I think that you've got to play Nygren. He deserves to start. His goals and his contributions and his assists are better than anybody else in the squad. He's got to start. He's always good for a goal. And we are going to have to carve open Hearts. And I know we've got Bologna before Hearts. But yeah, Nygren starts for me. He deserves a start. Callum McGregor's not in great form, but he does start. We need his experience and we need his leadership. We need that at Tynecastle. And I'm going to say it. I would play with the 2 pivots. 100% I would play with your 2 pivots. So I would be playing with Engels and I would be playing with McGregor. Engels, first half of the Rangers game that I was talking about on that wee clip that I played earlier on. Engels playing as a deep, lying, right-sided midfielder, not too concerned about getting into the box, not too concerned about scoring goals. He's very effective at that. His range of passing is very good. He's a type of player who can pick out both wingers. He can play the diagonal. He can dink it over the top. So he's got to play on the right-hand side of the pivot, and McGregor plays on the left-hand side, and Nygren is your number 10. He's the forward, the most forward lying midfield player. You're three up top. This is where it might become quite interesting. Who do you play? Yang was rested tonight. I think Yang deserves a start. He plays on the right wing. On the left wing, Tuneke, yeah, level of opposition, etc. But he did look bright. He did have a sense of purpose this evening. He plays down the left. The central area is still an absolute brain fart for Celtic. It really is. Maeda plays for me because Kenny gets so many chances. Maeda's had so many chances as well. Maeda plays through the middle. He's the best striker we've got. Iheanacho, hopefully he's on the bench. Kenny will be on the bench as well. And Bernardo, what about him tonight? He gets a chance and he doesn't take it. He is constantly promising to do something that he never does. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with my starting 11. But of course, we've got another big game before the Hearts game, Tony. And the big game we've got against Bologna on Thursday night. We're doing the live fan zone. Come along, say hello. Stand and chat with each other and chat with me and share views and share a bevy and free pies at halftime and live music on the stage. And we will be doing a pre-match and a post-match on the stage as well. Thanks every single one of you for getting involved. And hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow at 12:30. I will be joined by a couple of my Acsom comrades. Hopefully Asim, Kevin Graham, Quinny, or a combination of those three. There you go. Clydebank Celtic, thanks for getting involved tonight. Spot on about Bernardo. He was poor again. Yeah, he absolutely was. What a load of all Bologna, says Spice Froggy. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. Let me just check before you go. I wanted us to hit 39,000 subscribers tonight. Where are we? We're at 38.9 thousand. There was 29 before we went live tonight. There was 29 before we went live. Come on, guys. If you're watching this and you have not subscribed, it's free of charge. Get yourself subscribing to the channel and we can hit 39,000 tonight. We can do that tonight. I'm going to try and get an exact number for you. What is the community? Here we go. We're looking at the community at Celtic. We're looking at the dashboards. What have we got? We've got 38,999 subscribers. Come on. Is there going to be a prize for the 30? We're just hit over it. We've just gone over it. 39,002. Thank you very much for your continued support. I have been in viewing the studio. We're just getting all the logistics sorted and the aesthetics sorted, and we'll be live from a studio in Glasgow every single day from 12:30 to 1:30. I will then extend the time from 12 to 2. And we'll go 2 hours every single day. How's about that? All free of charge. Thank you, every one of you, for getting involved. Please tune in again tomorrow at 12:30 on A Celtic State of Mind.